Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. I am back in my power recapping studio here in sunny Los Angeles, California, and I made a video about Rachael Kirkconnell on a podcast, a new podcast that is out, and I'm going to show you guys the YouTube link right here. Yeah, but who cares is the name of the show, and it features Rachael Kirkconnell's former fellow contestant on Matt James' season, Bree Springs, and also Sisana Allen. I do hope I'm saying your name right here. Very fascinating stuff. I love the independent podcasts that are not Bachelor owned because we get conversation we would never get. And I have to tell you guys, this is not clickbait. Listen to me right now. This is not clickbait. A huge reveal. Rachael says what I've been saying for the last 2 years, which was that she was pushed not to speak. She was pushed not to speak after her gigantic controversy on Matt James' season when plantation-style photos came out of her in college wearing a dress and going to an activity that was otherwise banned several years earlier. She talks about that whole experience. I'm going to play several different clips for you guys. I encourage you, as I always do, to go listen to the full episode to get the full context of everything that happened. I'm going to give you guys some breadcrumbs, but go check out the full thing. Support content creators, give them a subscribe, leave a comment, tell them you heard about them on our channel. It's really, really important that voices that are having difficult conversations get out there and we don't just get this clickbait nonsense where they're afraid to talk about things. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's just get into it. I'm going to play for you guys several different clips. Follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And also, as you guys know, I was away at my wedding weekend. That's right, your boy's been made. I'm a man now. I've got this drone shot I'm going to share for you guys at the end. We got my now wife, and then you can see some of our other friends are in there, Katie Thurston, some others by the pool. I'll share that with you guys at the very end if you stick around. A little incentive to stick around there. So here it is, the first of several clips I'm going to share where Bree talks about what the experience was being a black woman on the show, which was the first time having a black lead in Matt James.
Someone in a different state getting murdered for being black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were like, let's get a black lead on the show.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you were supported as a black contestant as well?
I mean, I didn't... I went on a reality TV show. Like, no.
Yeah.
You can't go on a reality TV show and say, I'm going to be supported as a black contestant. That doesn't exist in America, sorry, to anyone who thinks they're going on a reality TV show to be supported as a black woman. And, that's why in my mind, it was easy for me to put on my producer hat. And
that's what I was about to say. They'll support you as far as what benefits them.
Exactly.
Bingo. And that's what exists within society. We talk about capitalism and how corporations are essentially psychopathic. They'll do what they need to do as far as it supports them, because the Bachelor franchise commodifies drama and hyping up these different love lives, heartbreaks. They're going to do what gives them the most views in ratings, and then they can sell their ads, and then they can stay employed. That's what they're going to do. So yeah, it's important to realize no one's got your best interest, especially people that commodify breaking your heart. All right, we're going to jump all the way to the 29-minute mark. Rachael gets into the antebellum-themed photos and talks a lot about how she didn't realize that she was taking these controversial images, but that if she had only Googled it, she would have known better. So she doesn't make any excuses, which I appreciate her doing that. But as a third party, I have to say, look, I was robbed. I was scammed in college while studying abroad. I had a lot of shame for years because I should have known better. But in the end, it was like I was the victim. I didn't know better. A lot of times you don't know better because you don't know what you don't know. There's blind spots, right? There's just ignorance that exists. So she said, well, I could have known better if I just Googled it. Yeah, if you just Google anything, you could know everything. But she didn't, and now she is using her platform to have these conversations.
Like, we didn't have sports at my school. We didn't even have a football team. So, like, that wasn't an issue I guess we had.
Yeah.
And, like, but you know what's so crazy is when I look back on that, there were fraternities that did have people of color, whether, you were black and we had certain sororities that were, black women only and things like that. And like, it's just crazy when I look back at all of our organizations, and there were some fraternities, they didn't have a single person of color. There were 100% white dudes. And that was that fraternity. And I
Yeah,
guess,
and so as she says, Greek life might hide, and again, it's different at every school. Culture is different. I was in Greek life in New England, and in my specific circle, that necessarily wasn't a problem. There wasn't sports teams not interacting with fraternities, but as it's mentioned, they would ban athletes from attending some of their events. And of course, a lot of athletes at specific colleges or at specific levels would be a more diverse, let's put it this way, sports teams have more diversity because they're more about the equality of play, now there's never perfect equality of play, but if you're good, you'll play, versus fraternities, which is more of a socioeconomic sort of like, I say this because there were it was very clear, and it's become very clear in certain schools that there are obvious racial divides with all white fraternities, all white sororities, and they might not outwardly ban people, but you would just know that you weren't wanted there.
because I was just like sitting there living in that privilege, not even having to ask myself those questions at the time.
Yeah.
Like, why am I wearing this dress? Like, I just was like, oh, it's, like you said, like traditional. I just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And people like just really like idolized, like, or just like, I don't know, fantasized like Old South and getting to wear the big gowns and dressing up and going to the beach.
So she basically tells the whole story about how she didn't even realize what she was doing was wrong. And you had people like Rachel Lindsay who said, what would I have represented at a plantation themed party? Of course, the Plantation South was when slavery was abundant. So what might be good old days for some, and again, that's why a lot of people that might say, well, what does it mean when you say make America great again? Who are you making it great again for? America can aspire to be great on all levels, but just like other countries have had issues, that hasn't always been the case. So just because it's been great in certain eras for some people, there's been, we're only about a dozen or so presidents away from women even getting the right to vote, maybe more than that. But the point is it's recent history. It's recent history that black people were let into Mormon churches. It's recent history that we didn't share water fountains. So to make things great again, you have to wonder for whom. And as Rachel mentions here, she wasn't thinking a bigger picture, and I don't necessarily blame her because you don't know what you don't know at any age where you're coming from a more insulated environment. As she has grown and learned about it, she realizes the privileges that she's had. All right, here's the clip I wanted to share with you guys. And again, go check it out. I want to sound super redundant here. There's so much more in there. And I know last video I sort of politely criticized their audio issues here. It's more of a running joke that we have because some of the Bachelor podcasts are such horrible audio. You have to commend them for at least having professional microphones here. There's just some ground noise, but I fully expect if they keep working at it that they're going to have a fantastic show because they're having conversations that are wildly interesting to have and so much more in depth than the superficial conversations that the show would have you have. Now, pay attention very closely to Rachel, as after 2 years, she finally shares, and I don't blame her for not sharing this because she doesn't want to get sued, she doesn't want all these issues, but after 2 years, she finally says the quiet part out loud that they didn't want her to make a video explaining and apologizing. They just wanted her to make a statement. So when we look at Eric Schwer, who's going through these issues right now, he's in the stage of, do I talk about this or do I hide behind the statement like they want me to do?
Everyone. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, your whole, your platform at the time was very dependent on taking a stance one way or the other.
Yeah.
How did you decide that you wanted to continue to put yourself out there, one, continue to share your personal journey, mm-hmm. two, and decide that, your network, your audience, your community was even worthy for you to be able to share now the most intimate personal aspects of your life with them?
I think there were like a lot of layers to it because at the beginning, I did just like want to delete my whole account and like fall off the face of the earth. Like I really considered it a lot. Multiple times I was like, do I just delete? Yeah. Like, is this the day? And then especially like when Matt and I, like when we had broken up, that was actually kind of the turning point for me because that was like a week before AFR. And that was after I had posted like my written statement, because I was pushed to write a written statement and not speak to my speak to my followers. Like,
I'm going to share that one more time just so you can see. She was pushed to make a written statement and not speak.
Written statement, a turning point for me, because that was like a week before AFR. And that was after I had posted like my written statement, because I was pushed to write a written statement and not speak to speak to my followers, like with my face and whatnot.
And everyone's saying that the actual 8 or so minute long video she made where she actually did speak to her audience was one of the best sort of apologies, conversations that one could have. She was broken down. She has broken up with her guy at that point, and she was done listening to them. The fact that the show strung her along, you know, wanting her to have that conversation on After the Final Rose, commodify that conversation about race. The show wanted to commodify it after hiring a black lead, which of course, on their end, they did essentially at gunpoint from the audience that wanted that. They wouldn't have done it because progress and change doesn't happen without the audience demanding it. So that with all that, they were still trying to juice and squeeze and make money off of this situation. She finally said enough is enough, and she took the matters into her own hands. And it was the best decision she's probably ever made.
By who?
By the show and by producers, just because they were like, you could just like look in the corner and people will look too far into it. Like they kind of like just were like, it's easier to write a written statement. And in my experience,
and as they said earlier, it's better for the show. They weren't looking out for her so much as they were looking out for their own best interest.
And I feel like that kind of backfired because a lot of people were like, either like, wow, like she can't even like say it. And then the other half was like, wow, this was actually really well written. Like props to whoever wrote this for her. Like no one like actually thought it was even from me. And so after, like I said, like wanting to be like, all right, I'm just going to fall off the face of the earth. And then when Matt broke up with me, that's when I was like, what else do I have to lose? Like, it cannot get worse from here. There's nothing else I can lose at this point. Like, I already lost the one thing, like, I didn't want to lose. And so that's when I, like, went rogue and posted that, like, long video of just me talking, like, face-to-face. And then I posted that as I landed in California to film AFR. And I'm not kidding when I say I posted it, got to the hotel. Because, like, I posted that and I posted, like, just resources, like, trying to, like, show people.
When she posted that, I ran to my computer. I was literally at a Starbucks. I had to throw my coffee down and run back. I was shocked that she did that, but I was so happy and relieved for her.
All the people that were like, you did nothing wrong. Like, I was trying to post resources of links for, like, articles and whatnot on my stories just to show, like, for all of those who are saying I did nothing wrong, like, this is why it's wrong. Because I just, like, wanted at least to, like, try and show people, like, this is why it's wrong. Stop saying this is okay. And so I posted all of that. I got to the hotel, took my phone, and I didn't see anything. And I talked about this. You had your laptop. I didn't have anything, right?
I refused to go back in
without something.
Yeah.
Wait, are you at your phone?
That was never going to happen to me again.
Yeah.
Oh, I was never going to, I told them, I was like, you want me to be here for the purpose of a show. I wasn't going to go. I had no reason being there.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. I don't need to do this anymore.
So you had your stuff, right?
Yeah. But I was also, yes.
But I will say I did bring a burner phone in. My brother's girlfriend, like, brought in, she literally went to Walmart and bought me, like, a pay-as-you-go phone.
Yeah.
And how'd you sneak? Do they like pat you down?
No. But they just like expect you to hand over your electronics when you get there.
Can't you literally hand over?
I guess I could have handed over the burner phone.
You could have handed over your sister's electronics and they would have never noticed. Like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, they're not forcing. Again, this is why the show is so, in my mind, like, hilarious. And people are like, oh, the show. They don't force you to do anything.
They just manipulate you into thinking you have to.
Exactly.
Wow.
Bingo. They don't force you to do it. They manipulate you into thinking you have to. And here's Rachel's 7-minute, 36-second video that's still up there from 85 weeks ago. This was her broken down, darkest moment where she decided she's had enough and she was going to finally speak from her heart. They finally couldn't control her anymore. And good for her. Good for these conversations. Sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. We say it all the time. All right, I'm going to share this clip. I told you I would. It's no audio because it's just a video. But here's the final goodbye from the resort. I'm so bummed out. I'm so sad. I just miss it so much. Here's the resort that we stayed at, and that was the video of us sailing away on our final little moment of the pool before the sun went down. We were there for 8 days. Like I said, we're going to have a lot to share on the Patreon and on Instagram and on the different places with all of the content that was made. The waltz that Tasha and I did, when we did the waltz for our first dance, it was the best time we ever did that dance. We hired a professional dancer, and he a professional teacher, ballroom teacher, and we're going to share that all with you guys eventually, but one thing at a time. We'll have the reception, we'll have the wedding ceremony posted. You can go see that. That'll be posted on my Patreon. I think tonight I'll have it finally uploaded. It's a big file, so I'll upload it tonight. All right, folks, that's it for me. Link in the comment section if you want to go check out this full episode. I highly suggest you give them a subscribe, leave a comment, tell them you heard them here, and we'll definitely be checking out more of that conversation afterwards. All right, bye, everybody.